Welcome once again to ICANN Media. We are, of course, coming to you from Banff at the Petroleum Safety Conference. Right now, we're joined by Glynn Jones, who is with EHS Partnerships in Calgary. And Glynn, your talk is on the future of safety in Canada. Perhaps you can give our viewers a little bit of an idea of what your presentation involved.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I was talking about enterprise risk management, the idea that safety needs to move from being in its own silo and to be integrated in with the rest of the risk management thinking that companies undertake. The opportunity for the safety people to move away from their silo and into the boardroom and be part of the big risk discussions.
Well, it's interesting. One of the people that we interviewed here was a speaker as well, said at one time the health and safety officer was the person that walked around with a big stick and told people, don't do this, don't do that, be careful, all that sort of thing. But things have changed dramatically over the years, haven't they?
For sure they have. Yeah, we've moved to from a place where the safety guy was either a guy who'd been injured and they couldn't do the regular work, or he was running around policing. And now we've moved to a point where there's a very strong management system focus, and so the systems for safety are linked to the rest of the business systems. And so I think the last part of that evolution needs to be that the risks related to health and safety are also being thought of and linked to the general corporate risk, things like contract and currency and business continuity.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering. Like, putting it in risk management, is that something that's accepted by industry, or is this something you're trying to convince industry of?
Oh, I think it would be accepted. It's just a little bit of a new way of thinking. And I would say in some respects it's the safety professionals. They grew up in a world where they were in a silo. And I think that the boardroom group are ready to have the safety risk discussion. It's just the safety people need to realize that it's time for them sort of to push forward and say our message needs to get to the senior executives.
Well, what exactly is the catalyst here? What's pushing it forward that things are changing today, whereas maybe they wouldn't have 10, 15 years ago?
Well, I think the big thing is that we've already come so far. So the old system where the safety people were focusing on health and safety management systems is working. It's working to reduce the lost time injury rates. The thing that's not working yet is the fatality rate continues to be the same. So we've been good at reducing small incidents through a management systems approach, but fatalities continue at the same rate. And in Alberta, we have the highest fatality rate on a per capita basis as anywhere in Canada.
Do you have that number off the top of your head?
Well, I know that in Alberta last year was 180 workers. On a per capita basis, I don't know.
No, but the number is 180. How many across Canada each year? Do you know that?
Close to 600.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot of people that are dying on the workplace in jobs that, and we're not talking about policemen here, we're not talking about firefighters, talking about people in dangerous professions perhaps, but not the type of thing where you would expect them to die when they're at work.
That's the issue. The issue is that with good communication and good work planning and a competent workforce, every day every worker should be able to go home. And it's a breakdown in those systems. It's the inability, or in some respects the lack of willingness to focus on risk that manifests us that way, such that we do have that fatality rate and it continues to be an issue.
You say your talk is about becoming a world-class safety organization or safety umbrella. What are some of the steps that you think should be done?
Well, for starters, it's the safety community. They need to think of themselves as people that can have the boardroom conversation. To some respects, the safety community still thinks of themselves as part of the frontline management team, and therefore they believe they're a little bit on the outside. So the boardroom's ready. It's really the safety professionals needs to change their thinking, and it's a leadership opportunity, and to some extent it takes some courage, but to push that agenda forward, and I think they'll be well accepted by that senior leadership team.
So what else has to be done? I mean, what sort of steps would have to be in place? Because when you talk world class, you're separating yourself from the norm, correct?
Yeah, the idea in the moment in Alberta is simply to get to a world-class standard. At the moment, we're sort of behind. And Alberta suffers a little bit because of the swings in economy. There are a number of reasons why it is true, but when I say move to world-class, I mean just to catch up with the other countries and other organizations across Canada. And what I think is really needed is that we need to drive the competency conversation, general worker competency. We need to simplify some safety systems, and we need to be having that risk conversation, at the boardroom so that they're part of the conversation.
I mean, we've heard groups talk about risk on the job and that sort of thing. Why do you think Alberta lags behind?
Well, it's a function of three things that I see. One is we've got a strong regulatory framework. The framework is good, but we could have more enforcement. The second piece is our swings in economy. When the economy booms, We take on workers that maybe aren't as skilled as they could be. When the economy slows down, we're quickly making change, and change creates instability, and that creates risk. And the third thing is the resource nature of our business. I mean, the work we do in mining and oil and gas and forestry, just by its nature, the workplace is a less controllable, stable work environment than, say, a manufacturing plant.
Are you optimistic that the changes that you would like to see are going to happen quickly, or do you think this will be a long, drawn-out process?
Well, I am optimistic. I mean, the rate at which the universities are providing foundational education in health and safety for that next generation of safety practitioner is incredible. We're graduating thousands of graduates a year, whereas 10 years ago it might be 20 or 30 graduates a year. So I'm certainly optimistic there. I have to say, though, it will take time because change takes time. And I jokingly tell students, they just wait 50 years, we'll have it figured out. I don't think it'll be that long, but we will measure time in decades. The change will take some time just because we've got to change our thinking about things.
Glynn, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much.
We've been chatting with Glynn Jones with EHS Partnerships right here on ICANN Media, coming to you from Banff.